Welcome to another episode of OG55. We are reacting to yet another Probably at Disney fantastic video. We're talking all about the East Coast, but we're also talking about the West Coast. We got a little Disneyland in here. We're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down. Up next on OG55. Let's go. And I did say West Coast, didn't I, George?
You did.
West Coast.
I ain't got nothing to say but West Side.
Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. Today, we are reacting to a fantastic content creator who we have reacted to in the past, probably at Disney. She makes phenomenal content. We're going to break it down, talk about it. But before we do, George, the Italiano, where can everybody find you on social media, George?
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And, of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner for all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And you can also check me out on my new YouTube channel and Instagram, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
There he is. All right, let's rock and roll, George. You know the drill. We're going to play the video and stop along the way, break it down, react to it. This is Probably at Disney. Make sure you subscribe to her. Make sure that you smash that like button. She does a really, really good content, you know, and George and I don't always agree with her, but that's the fun of it too, right? Like sometimes you just kind of nerd out and you agree and sometimes you don't, but that's part of the magic.
You don't really have a full-fledged conversation if you constantly say, I agree, I agree, I agree. You know, it
exactly.
Doesn't go too far from there.
Exactly. So it's kind of fun to have a little bit of that, you know, back and forth. So we are reacting, and probably at Disney, I do want to extend an invite to. If she ever wants to come on OG55, you are more than welcome. Probably at Disney, if you by any chance watch this video and you're interested in coming on OG55, we would love to have you because we are a fan of your content. All right, here we go. Let's rock and roll, George.
Let's do it.
Hold on real quick. I'm gonna start off already by getting kind of spicy. Hold on. 1 sec. Now, this is what I'm talking about. This is California Adventure. This is DCA over here on the West Coast, right? California Adventure. I'm just telling you, Floridians, if you're worried about losing the aesthetics because you're losing the Rivers of America, you're worried you're not going to get that aesthetics with this new Cars area. You're not going to get this exact thing, obviously. It's a different project, but this is the scale and the scope that you could probably expect with this Cars area that's replacing the Rivers of America. You are not losing aesthetics. You are probably, to be honest with you, probably gaining a whole lot of aesthetics, okay? And again, I respect the fact that people are nostalgic and people are attached to that river because this is a big change. So I understand that. I respect that. I'm just, if OG can kind of ease your mind a little bit, look at what you're seeing here. If you've never been to California, this is gorgeous. Okay, yes, they're cartoon cars, but surrounded by this amazing rock work and waterfalls, and it's breathtaking. So you can look forward to something along these lines in that new area. I'm almost certain of it. Now, if Disney doesn't deliver this, and they half-ass and they cut corners and they cheap out, George and I and the whole OG55 crew will be absolutely on them for that. You have to bring it like this, Disney. If you're going to replace the Rivers of America, do not cut corners, do not cheap out. We're expecting this, okay? Or like this quality. But if I think we're going to get it, I do. So you're not losing the aesthetic, I promise you. Cars Land is really amazing. It really is.
I agree.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. You were watching Probably at Disney, and as you're probably aware, we are supposed to be on the verge of a new Disney era with described turbocharged growth for Disney Cruise Line, Disneyland, and Walt Disney World. However, as I discussed in a previous video, this new Disney decade is not without its challenges, and at this very moment, there are growing concerns that this era might be cut short. Here's the situation. Companies who make the ride systems that Disney uses, as well as the materials and parts Disney needs, comes from overseas. And due to new economic uncertainty, talks of recession and tariffs, there is the potential for Disney to backtrack on its massive upcoming slate of projects, as they may end up costing more than originally projected, coupled with concerns over a drop in international tourism and simply too many doubts to make the investment a sure thing. And I should mention, despite what maybe Disney executives want to do or may want to build, it's important to remember that they get pressure from their board to cut back on spending and to shift into savings mode if things go a certain way. Now, I want to make clear, these are very fluid times. Things are changing day by day. So this may not even be an issue a month from now, or it might be what everyone's talking about 6 months from now. We simply don't know. But at this moment in time, which is April of 2025, there is the possibility for delays or changes to Disney's upcoming plans for its stateside parks. And with that in mind, I thought, let's break down the bulk of Disney's upcoming slate, project by project, both theme park lands and attractions, and discuss what is likely to still happen regardless of the economic climate, and what could get scaled back, delayed, or outright canceled altogether. But keep in mind, this is speculation in more ways than one. And I want to mention that regardless of the project being discussed, it was someone's vision. Imagineers poured their time and energy into it, and I want to treat that with respect because I wouldn't wish it on anyone for their work to go unrealized. Also, I will not be including any of this year's coming attractions, including Test Track, Animal Kingdom Zootopia Show, the Walt Disney Animatronic for Disneyland, Magic Kingdom Starlight Parade, or any of the Hollywood studio shows because they're highly unlikely to be affected.
Right.
So with that being said, and if you're ready, let's get into what might be canceled and what might be saved from Disney's slate of theme park announcements, beginning with Disney's Lakeshore Lodge. Set to open in 2027, Disney's Lakeshore Lodge is Walt Disney World's next DVC resort, which was actually in the works before the pandemic.
So, wow, before the pandy. So we're talking like 2019 or before. That's a long time ago, actually.
I remember they announced that.
When was that, George? Do you remember the date or roughly-ish?
I remember the announcement. It either had to be D23 2017 when it first was announced or 2019.
2017 or 2018? Or no, I'm sorry, 2017 or 2019?
2019, yeah.
I mean, either one of those, that's a long time ago. I mean, right now it is. You know, we're talking like, well, if it's 2019, we're talking 6 years ago, and we're talking 8 years ago if it was 2017. I mean, that's crazy to me. But okay, before she goes on any further, I don't think this is at risk because you know why? DVC. I think Disney will move heaven and earth to get this built. I think eventually, like Disney's all in on the DVC stuff. I don't think this is going to get cut. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but that's just my theory. What do you think, George?
I completely agree. And I do believe she does mention it as she continues on. But yeah, like echo what you were saying, Disney. If Disney has a DVC project in mind, chances are they will go through with it. I mean, look, even if it was mentioned back in 2017 or 2019, look, 6 to 8 years later, they're still pushing forward with it. You know, they could have easily just left it go by the wayside and keep it, you know, up on the shelf, but they're dusting it off and they're moving forward with it. So, I mean, it does bring in a lot of revenue for Disney. And I think during these hard times, if God forbid, you know, with an economic change that Disney has to kind of relook at their strategy, they're going to want a project like this because it could essentially keep them, with their heads above water as far as like what people, who do have a DVC membership and what have you. Plus also too, she does mention this also, but they already actually started construction on it. It's already going vertical as we speak.
Yeah, it's happening. But let's go ahead and continue.
Was delayed and then seemingly canceled, and then was revived a few months ago with the new name, which is Lakeshore Lodge. This resort will sit next to the Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground and on the site of the former River Country Water Park. I have so many questions about this resort because the only concept art we have is the art Disney unveiled years ago and prior to COVID. And even then, reviews were a bit mixed. So, is Disney sticking with that old vision? Have they changed anything? Is that Tiana's restaurant still part of the plan? We just simply don't know at this point. And that raises the question of whether this project is now in danger.
Yep, I got you.
And while I think
Now, I understand her concern, but this is where I kind of disagree. I feel like even with time being spent of waiting for this project to be done, even if Disney does decide to make changes along the way, I don't feel like that would be a legitimate concern that they would cancel it altogether because they would change it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Changes don't always equal bad. Changes don't always equal cuts. I mean, yeah, I would agree with you. And it's DVC. I'm telling you, Disney's going to invest in this and it's going to look great because it's DVC,
Mystery surrounding it is a little strange and is likely indicative of some design changes. I think it's safe and for several reasons. First of all, this project is already going vertical, meaning Disney has likely secured most of the supplies it needs. But another reason is how much Disney World relies on DVC and how much it contributes to Walt Disney World financially, and especially on paper to the degree that, and this is what I've heard, if Disney were to stop building DVCs, it would be seen as a financial loss. So that is why Lakeshore Lodge, in my view, is secure.
Yeah.
Another project that has been in the works for what feels like years at this point is Disneyland's The World of Avatar, which is slated for Disney California Adventure. Based on Avatar: The Way of Water, this is going to be a Pandora inspired by the second film, not the first like what you see at Animal Kingdom. And Disney CEO Bob Iger first teased a Avatar project for Disneyland years ago, and Imagineering unveiled a lot of details about it at D23 in 2024. The big question is just where in Disney California Adventure this land is going to go, with the leading theory being that it will replace the Hollywood backlot despite a few caveats. So, is it still coming? I think it's safe to say this is a project Disney wants to do and is quite a ways into development, but I do think it is a contender for a significant delay if this economic trajectory continues.
Delay, I would agree. I think delay possibly. I think even without the tariff stuff and all that other nonsense, I think even without that, I think that this project, and really no matter where they put it. So we covered a lot here on the channel because we're very West Coast here at OG55. But whether you put it in Hollywoodland, which you would still have to do this Eastern Gateway project because you would have to likely utilize that bus load unload area, right? So you have to find a spot for that bus load unload area. So you would have to do supporting infrastructure for even replacing Hollywoodland. Symbolot is a whole nother host of infrastructure changes you'd have to do as well, including a pedestrian bridge to go from the main park right now into the Symbolot. You need that pedestrian bridge over Disneyland Drive. All of that stuff is a lot. It's very involved, and they haven't started. It doesn't seem like it really. I don't even know if they really know where it's even going to go at this point. I don't even know. So delays, I think, were kind of the inevitable. I do think that this is probably not going to make the 5-year mark that Josh promised us at D23. Canceled? No, it won't be canceled. Even cutbacks, I don't think it's going to get cut back, and I'll tell you why. It's the same issue Universal has with J.K. Rowling. Now, I'm not a big fan of J.K. Rowling. I think a lot of what she says is disgusting as a person, But one thing about her, in terms of these Potter projects at least, she holds Universal's feet to the fire in terms of the quality, right? So she's going to demand quality, and you see it. Every Potter land is quality. Okay. So regardless of what I think about her as a person, I think that she does hold Universal's feet to the fire when it comes to these theme park lands and the quality. James Cameron is another one of those creatives that this is his baby. He's not going to let Disney budget cut the hell out of this thing and make a budgeted experience. I promise you that. They will delay it if they have to. Yes. Cut it into a budgeted Pandora. That will never happen. Cameron will not allow it. So that's where I stand with it. Delay, yes, but we're still going to get the incredible version that we're promised at the end of the day, whether it's 6 years or 7 years from now. So go ahead, George.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do feel like, just like what you had mentioned with J.K. Rowling with Universal, James Cameron would hold Disney's feet to the fire and Ash on that as well. I had to do it. It was right there.
Right there.
But I also have to say too, I can understand somewhat to a degree of delay, but if my math was correct, if they start construction on this project in 2027, because I think it took like 3 years, if not mistaken, to complete Pandora in Animal Kingdom. So if they start it in 27 and they wrap it up around 2030, that's the back end of the 5-year promise.
Right.
There still could be a chance that, with the economic change or what, it kind of straightens itself out, so to speak. Hopefully that would be the case.
Yeah, and here's the thing: I don't want to get political. Obviously, I say that, but we've gotten political on the channel before. But for this video, I don't want to get too political. But with the tariff situation, it's very fluid because I don't think the administration even knows what they want to do. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
It seems to be changing a lot, like very fast, right? Because there's a lot of unknowns and there's a lot of there's backpedaling and actually this is why we're doing it, and it's messy. Okay. But aside from that, though, I think that the problem with the Pandora project isn't so much Pandora. I agree with you. I agree with you that you can knock this thing out in 3, maybe 4 years, right? I think the problem with Pandora, though, is that whether you put it in Hollywood Land or whether you put it in the Simba lot, it requires additional changes to the infrastructure.
True.
And that's where I think we're going to find a lot of the delays. So whether you put it in Hollywood Land and you got to do that really you got to do the Eastern Gateway no matter what. So Hollywood Land presents Eastern Gateway, Simba does Eastern Gateway as well, but Simba lot you'd have to also build a pedestrian walkway over Disneyland Drive, and there's just a lot of this extra stuff kind of surrounding this land that I think is probably going to be the biggest issue. And I think that's probably going to be the biggest reason as to why it's delayed. Yes, the tariffs and the uncertainty and the back and forth with all that nonsense is probably that might affect it. But I think more likely is just this infrastructure stuff. It's almost like building another park.
Yeah.
In ways. Look what Disney had to do for DCA. I mean, they had to work they had to beautify the area around the park. They had to add Mickey and Friends, all this stuff to kind of secure DCA in that spot. Pandora is a smaller scale, but you kind of have to move and shake things around the resort to kind of get it to happen. That's where I think we're going to see delays. So yeah, I agree with her. I think delay is very possible, maybe even likely. Cutbacks, though, like we're going to get some budgeted version of it. That's not going to happen. Not with James Cameron. Now, cutbacks and all that stuff might happen when it comes to other projects, maybe. But with James Cameron, they're going to want to make Cameron happy. So,
because it is a huge undertaking with a super advanced boat ride that needs to rival the likes of Flight of Passage at Animal Kingdom. Plus, making it work for Disney California Adventure is likely going to require some additional cost. And that's why I think it could be pushed to the back burner.
Yeah, she's right.
The real question I have is whether this Pandora has a better shot of breaking ground first than the surprise Coco ride that Disney announced at D23 and also for Disney California Adventure. And while I'm more intrigued by what Imagineers would do with the new Pandora, I'm going to predict that of the two projects, that Coco ride is the most likely to happen of the two. I could be wrong, but a single ride is more doable than a land in theory. Plus, Disney did give a timeline for this attraction, saying work would begin in 2026. And now that Coco 2 is in development, I think it makes this ride more of a priority.
Yes and no. Yes and no.
I actually agree with you on that, but I'll let you. Yeah.
Yeah, yes and no on this, because and this is why I love her content, because I agree with her, but then there's a lot of stuff I don't agree with. Yes, Coco 2 is happening, but you also have multiple Avatar sequels. But mind you, Coco is a massive franchise, but Avatar is $1 billion. Like the last two movies, each movie made like $2 billion at the box office. Okay. $4 billion between two movies is crazy unheard of. Okay. Like literally the most successful franchise, Avatar is a juggernaut.
And there's still 3 more films on the way.
And there's 3 more films on the way. So I think that alone, the money, right? You want to talk money, that is definitely a priority for Disney. Okay. Now she's right in the sense where it's easier though to fit the Coco thing. So yeah, I agree with you that the Coco thing will probably happen more expeditiously, probably not going to have a delay. But I mean, yeah, Coco 2 is a thing for sure, but the Avatar franchise and all those sequels, and when the last 2 movies made $2 billion each, believe me, Avatar is our priority. You also have James Cameron breathing down your neck, and that's the thing. That's another thing. It's not Disney wants to play nice with Cameron. And they're not going to piss that guy off. I'm telling you. So yeah, Avatar is happening for sure, but this will probably almost likely get started first. I agree with her on that.
But in terms of the Disneyland Resort's future, including its now Disneyland Forward, I think at the moment it's going to stay in development for longer than fans initially hoped. And that's a huge bummer, since Disney had teased the possibility of lands and rides from Tokyo Disney's Fantasy Springs. So I think that's going to be on pause for a bit. Now, before I switch back to Walt Disney World to talk about its many upcoming lands and attractions, there's one last Disneyland expansion I need to discuss, and that is the 2 new Avengers Campus rides coming to Disney California Adventure, beginning with Stark Flight Lab. Since we have seen footage of this ride system already, and it doesn't appear to be an overly complicated attraction, I think this ride may be one of the safest we talk about today. I think we'll definitely see it within a year or 2.
Oh, yeah.
As for Avengers Infinity Defense, no, I don't think it's going to be canceled, but there are some things about it that made me think it could be delayed.
I mean, delay, anytime you're dealing with Disney, you're dealing with delays for me. Now, to be fair, this video was released 5 days ago. So there has been some news on this front recently. Disney announced that the Run Disney Marathon stuff, after this 2026 marathon, I think it's in early 2026.
Early 26, yeah.
Early 2026 is going to be on hiatus due to construction. Now, a lot of that is likely due to these projects, this e-ticket and this Stark Lab. So they're starting it. And from what I understand, I think it was our friend Mondo from Five Fires. I think he even got some footage, some pictures recently. He shared it on social media of the dirt being moved. There might be a delay here with this thing. I don't think it'll be a massive delay, though. We're definitely going to get this within the next few years, I think. Definitely not canceled. Yeah, I don't know. This is pretty secure. Like literally, we have movement on this already. So any delay that we might see is going to be pretty, in my opinion, kind of insignificant. But that's kind of where I stand. What say you, George?
I agree. I feel like if there is any more delays for Infinity Defense in particular, it would be like on a very mild, case by case as time progresses with the construction. But as far as the project itself, this thing has been on again, off again, delayed so many times. I don't really think Disney is going to want to keep on delaying it any more than it really needs to.
No, and I think it's too far in the production pipeline. I mean, literally, we have bulldozers and work being done as we speak. They've already shut down the red car because the trolley barn is back there. Like we said just a second ago, the Run Disney stuff now is going to go on hiatus after this marathon in early 2026. I think this is like honestly as secure as you can get, and not just the Coco arm thing. I think the e-ticket as well. I think these are happening. I think there might be delays because things happen, but it won't be anything significant.
And really quick before we go on, I just have one other thing to mention prior with the Coco and Avatar. Now, where I do agree with her is I feel like Coco would be kind of considered towards the forefront, because it is just one attraction. They can kind of maybe get that out much quicker, and it's within probably the footprints of DCA already, where, as we had mentioned before, with Avatar, you're going to have to do a lot more other maneuvering with the Eastern Gateway and what have you. Now, we also just did a recent reaction video to our good friend Hey Bricky when he was mentioning about the purchase of $124 million purchase of a offsite
Warehouse
10-acre building warehouse. So that might be in the connection with the Coco attraction itself. I won't digress too much into that. Definitely check that out, folks. It's a really good video from Hey Bricky, and we do react on it. But I feel like that's where Coco might come out, earlier than Avatar. But where I disagree is I don't think, there would be any kind of like significant change or cancellation on Avatar.
You mean on Avengers?
No, I'm sorry. I was talking about like the Coco and Avatar.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, so
but as far as like with Avengers, even with Infinity Defense, this is also pretty much a safe bet. I mean, I think out of all the projects on the West Coast, this one is I think the most secure, to be honest, as far as the startup of construction.
Yeah, it's so far in the process. I think we're fine.
But yet there are some elements that we think that it's totally safe. So let me get into that. The danger this attraction faces is its supposed scale and complexity, and that a significant show building is going to be required in order to house the attraction and the ride system itself. But on the other hand, it's already been delayed and changed multiple times at this point, and the last update suggested it's going to be screen heavy in 3D, so maybe it's not going to be quite as advanced as previously thought. Also, Disney has already broken ground, and they're likely filming actor cameos now, as Avengers Doomsday is currently in production. And this is worth noting for not only this ride, but all others we talk about today. Disney now reportedly factors in the money projected to be made from Lightning Lane sales into a ride's budget. So Lightning Lane may be what gets us new rides regardless of the economy. And if so, glad to see it's finally doing something good.
We said, I'm glad she brought that up. I said this in a video, in videos, plural, years and years and years ago when they started monetizing the fast pass stuff, that this is going to be factored in. This might even incentivize Disney to go big with these attractions, because now these attractions are money-making machines for them through this paid Lightning Lane service. So we're seeing it right here. Now these attractions are revenue makers for them, like literally revenue makers. You know what I'm saying? Not indirectly through ticket sales, like directly they're making money for Disney. So great point, probably, Disney. I've been saying that for a long time, and you're absolutely right.
Parks. But if Lightning Lane profit for Avengers Infinity Defense isn't quite enough to cover rising expenses, Disney could just as easily stop. They could just as easily keep those MCU actors' cameos in the can for a few years. And since they haven't quite gone vertical with construction, they could hit pause. So in my estimation, Avengers Infinity Defense could go either way at this point, and I think it's going to hinge on just how badly Disney feels they need it. Now let's switch back to the East Coast to address Walt Disney World's projects, beginning with Monstropolis coming to Hollywood Studios and replacing Muppets Courtyard and Muppet Vision 3D in as early as June of this year. And this story is so interesting because construction walls should have already gone up in one corner of the courtyard, and they haven't yet. And as I've talked about many times, this project is unpopular with the exception of the Monsters Inc. Door Vault coaster. I think everybody wants that coaster. That's not up for debate. What is, though, is the Monsters Inc. overlay of the land, since it's going to remove Muppet Vision 3D. So will the coaster still happen? I think it will, especially with Lightning Lane being a consideration. But I do think it is in danger of being delayed due to its ride system and Disney's need for steel. If so, that would be a case of history repeating itself, since supposedly we would already have this coaster at Hollywood Studios if the financial crisis of 2008 hadn't happened. The real question I have is whether the Monsters Inc. overlay of the courtyard will still take place. Since it's set dressing and a new show, and they're likely to make their money back on merch and dining, I don't see why it wouldn't keep moving forward unless they have trouble with contracts or they really want to cut back on cost. After all, is it worth spending money on something if guests don't really want it? Would it look better on paper if they saved this cost?
I gotta, I hate doing this. I hate doing this, but I gotta push back on that. If guests don't really want it, see, this is where I think that we kind of get. It's not just her. I mean, I think in general, it's very easy to kind of get into this mode where like the diehard fans are the guests. Now we are guests, but we're not the normies. We're not the masses. So like when you're asking a family, like if I'm asking like, you know, my coworkers who are not Disney nerds, who are not in this every day, what would you want? Would your kid want the Muppets or would you want Monsters Inc.? I mean, most families are going to say Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc. is the more relevant franchise. I think guests want that more than Muppets. And I'm saying that as a Muppet fan. I love the Muppets. I think they're a treasure of an IP. They're amazing. But we have to be realistic too as diehard fans, like to understand that like we have to have that fan awareness that like the normies don't really care. Like honestly, they're not as invested in the Muppets. The other thing is you're not even really losing the Muppets. They're just being moved over to Rock and Roller Coaster. So you still get the Muppet merch. You still get the Muppets. They're just over there now. So I just don't think I don't think guests care enough. I really don't. Now, yes, in our little circle on Twitter and on social media and all the Disney nerds and content creators, yes, we're all abuzz about losing the Muppet Courtyard. Yes, the normies aren't on the same page. I am telling you right now, they are not on the same page. Go ahead, George.
I completely agree. I feel like when you kind of weigh both, you know, franchises, both IPs, Monsters Inc. and Muppets, yes, us as the diehard Disney nerds, I choose both. I'd be like, give me Monsters Inc. and Muppets, you know, give me everything.
And that's what you're getting, basically.
Exactly. Essentially, that's what we are getting, you know, and even though they're getting rid of Muppet Vision 3D, which Disney has stated they never really was clear of like how they're going to do it, but they are going to preserve the film of Muppet Vision 3D for what it is, but they're still keeping the Muppets present in Hollywood Studios. They're revamping Rock and Roller Coaster, and then we get a whole entire Monstropolis land with the coaster. And for how people reacted to the roller coaster, take like the notion of replacing Muppets Courtyard, just the coaster itself. We were there at D23,
yeah,
and people went absolutely nuts. Like when Billy Crystal came out on stage, made the announcement they were making a land, and they showcased the concept art for this roller coaster. And then just recently, from the South by Southwest event that they showed like the mechanism of how they're going to raise the vehicles up and takes you into the door vault and everything. Disney's going to want to capitalize it, and to also probably at Disney and UOG's credit of saying with Lightning Lane, can you imagine the Lightning Lane sales that are going to be for that door vault coaster?
Exactly. So 100%, George.
That is the mystery. But since Muppet Vision is supposed to close in the coming weeks, I think we'll have our answer very soon, and maybe by the time you're watching this. Now, that Muppet mystery brings me to another, and that is the Muppet overlay of Rock and Roller Coaster. Typically, I would say this is happening for sure. I mean, Aerosmith has been on the way out for a while. The ride system and the track already exist. It's in place. It's good to go. Therefore, the overlay itself is mostly sound and pre-show. But what's weird is that we don't have an official title yet. And we've heard little about this since it was first announced, now coupled with the lack of progress on Muppets Courtyard. Whether that is due to the new uncertainty surrounding Monsters, Inc. and the Muppets, I don't know. But for now, I'm going to say, yes, it's still happening, but that doesn't mean I'm confident that everything Disney announced previously is still guaranteed. Now, since we're already talking about Hollywood Studios, let's address the rumored announcement.
And to be fair of what you was saying, yes, it is true. You know, Disney does have this recurring kind of mentality that, you know, a lot of things that they say does change or it get cancels out, you know, or what have you. I definitely get that. But with that particular project of the Muppets taking over Rock and Roller Coaster, she had mentioned that, you know, we didn't get any more like information like of the name of the attraction or what have you. And I get it. It can raise some eyebrows as to why, but we also have to take in consideration too. We got another major event coming up late August at Walt Disney World, Destination D23. I don't think that Disney is going to be releasing all this information right now because they literally tickets just went on sale and the whole event sold out the same day. So Disney has to deliver something for those people that spent those tickets.
Right. Well said, George. You're 100% right on that. And that's, for Florida, absolutely. They're going to save a lot of these announcements for that event. And for Disneyland, they're probably going to save a lot of announcements for the 70th, July 17th, when we get when the whole room in front of Lincoln, which is going to be the new Walt animatronic, is going to get a preview center for the future. So I'm sure there will be some announcements in that preview center as well. So great observation, George. Absolutely. So I agree with you.
Gracias.
Animation Courtyard. Sources have said and have continued to say, with confidence, I might add, that something is happening at Animation Courtyard that Disney has not yet revealed, but many, myself included, believe they would make it public on May 22nd. I ran through a bunch of scenarios and theories about this, and I still hope we hear something, but at this moment, I'm not so sure. If Disney is truly thinking about cutting back on projects they've already announced, it just doesn't make sense to announce more, unless maybe it's one that wouldn't be affected by the need for overseas materials. That would likely mean it's smaller than we're hoping for and probably not a ride, so I'm not sure if I like that scenario either. But in my opinion, my fear is that this mystery project may remain just that. Now, before I talk about Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom's projects, we're going to pause and keep it at Hollywood Studios.
So for that notion, I can't really say anything off of that because Disney never really officially announced anything. We don't even know. That was more so hearsay that we may be getting a surprise announcement on May 22nd. Again, I find it kind of odd that if they would make that announcement, that they just wouldn't wait till Destination D23 to make a major announcement like that if they were going to do another expanded land in Disney's Hollywood Studios. So to make that announcement on May 22nd, I'm not too sure if they were going to do that anyway. But even if they were, we don't know what that project was, whether it was something very big in scope or maybe small and subtle. So we really don't know. So I can't really give my critiques on that because it was something that Disney never really officially announced.
Yeah. And I think that the May 22 theory is to kind of mitigate the Epic Universe opening. But I think Universal is sort of mitigating that opening on its own. And what I mean by that is like they've had team member previews, team member previews. They've had annual pass previews. They had media previews. So we have right now, as we speak, at the time of this recording on April 23rd, so much footage. We've had live streams from like Tim Tracker and Resort One TV from the park.
Yeah,
from the park. Like so the Epic Universe opening date is really not. I don't think it's going to carry the punch that like that I think that I think a lot of fans think is going to carry, because it's already we're easing into it. It's not like this big moment anymore. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Which that's in my head, I was thinking the same, like in that moment, because I thought, okay, I'm going opening day, May 22nd. I'm going to be one of the first people to go into Epic Universe. Technically, I'm one of the last people going into Epic Universe.
Right, exactly. And the other thing too, and we've done many videos on Epic Universe. We actually did a great reaction video to Andrew Platt, who's a fellow content creator. I really highly recommend everyone check out that video we reacted to, but also more importantly, go and check out Andrew Platt. His channel on YouTube is phenomenal. He did a lot of theme park stuff, really cool content creator. But Epic Universe looks really, really dope, dude. There's a lot of good stuff there, but it's not the Disney killer that a lot of fans thought it was going to be. It's not going to be the death blow, or even like I don't even think it's going to be like even like a massive blow to Disney. I really don't. I think it's a great park, but I don't think Disney is like super worried about it. You know?
Even if they are, do you think Disney making a huge announcement on May 22nd would make them look vulnerable and weak to Epic Universe to do that? Because even as of right now, Disney is already kind of pulling out the stops with a lot of hotel deals and ticket deals and dining deals, all the way going from now into 2025 into 2026. They just released those packages.
Right. You know what? Honestly, you know what I would rather. You're right, George. It's a great point. You look more insecure, basically, when you drop big news on the day that Universal's opening their big park. You look super freaking insecure and nervous. We got to distract you. We can't let you see what Universal has because we're scared. You know, that looks so bad. You know what I want Disney to do on May 22nd? I want Disney to send a letter like they used to do back in the day and congratulate Universal on the opening of Epic Universe.
I was just going to say, humble themselves, to say, you know what, let Universal have their moment. Let them have their opening day. It's in a way kind of history in the making. It's a brand new theme park in the Orlando area that they haven't had in over 2 decades.
Yes, and that's a show of confidence too. Hey, we're not worried. You know what? Universal, hand clap, congrats. You know, you built a great park. We welcome the expansion to the Orlando area. This is awesome. This is great for you, great for us. Welcome. Awesome. If you go in there and you try to fight back and you try to make a big announcement on the same day they're opening, then you look worried. Then you look like you're scrambling. You know, that's the last thing Disney needs. No, I agree with you, George. You don't do anything on May 22. If you do anything, you congratulate Universal. Okay, you do that. Maybe even Bob Iger can even say, hey, look, this is a cool park. You know what I'm saying? Just be cool with it. And then a couple months later in August with the Destination D, that's when Disney drops their stuff. You know what I'm saying? But if you go in there on May 22 and you're trying to like distract people, people are not dumb. They can see through that shit, and Disney knows that. And you're better off just letting Universal have their day, dude. It would look worse if you tried to interfere with that.
For a what you probably didn't know about Disney segment. Hollywood Studios' main street, which is known as Hollywood Boulevard, is designed to evoke the 1930s and the golden age of film. But when you turn down Sunset Boulevard, which has Tower of Terror at the end of the street, you're actually time traveling into the 1940s. And here's how you know. The day Twilight Zone Tower of Terror was struck by lightning was October 31st, 1939. And you're clearly visiting this part of Hollywood after that event has taken place. And the Legends of Hollywood store, which looks like a movie theater, has posters on display for Pinocchio, Fantasia, and The Three Caballeros, all of which premiered in the 1940s. The music in the background has also changed to reflect the decade. You may even hear It's Been a Long, Long Time, which is Captain America's song with Peggy Carter, if you know your Marvel lore. And there are other visual clues that this is wartime Hollywood, including ads to buy war bonds, as well as other posters, signs, and even a victory garden all around the area surrounding Rosie's All-American Cafe. So next time you go to Hollywood Studios and you enter the park, know that you are in the 1930s. But if you take a right-hand turn down Sunset, you have been transported into the 1940s. Moving on over to Animal Kingdom, here there is a whole new land currently in progress, and that is Tropical Americas. This new land replacing Dinoland USA is going to have an Encanto ride, an Indiana Jones ride that's replacing Dinosaur, and a new carousel offering animals from a wide range of Disney films and franchises, from Winnie the Pooh to Finding Nemo. Disney closed half of Dinoland earlier this year to begin work on the Encanto ride, with phase 2 of construction to involve Indiana Jones and to transform Restaurantosaurus. And that makes this one of the more unique projects we're talking about today, given that it's already so far into construction and the fact that Disney intends to have this entire land open by 2027. So is it safe? Are only some attractions safe? Are we talking about a delay here? In my opinion, I think Tropical Americas is likely in the clear. We will see this land. I don't think cancellation is a concern. Whether it makes that 2027 deadline is the only thing I'm iffy about.
And that seems to be kind of the trend I'm seeing here, both for Florida and Disneyland Resort, right? It feels like, I don't think any of these projects are really like prime for like cancellation. I think it's more delay.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the trend we're seeing. I think delays, yes. I think Josh D'Amaro promising, 5 years, probably not going to happen with every single one of these projects,
And we've said that actually from the very beginning when D23 was over. I think I get that Josh was trying to get back into the good graces of the fandom. And again, you had mentioned many times on this channel, he's in the race for CEO. He wants to make it look good.
Right.
But I think by him making a definite promise of a timeline of when all these are going to be done, when he said 5 years, I feel like that's where he kind of went a little bit off the rails. He should have just said, these are all projects that are greenlit. They will be coming to you. But I think when he said all of them are going to be done within 5 years, I think he should have been a little more careful with that. I think that was a little bit of a PR blunder, in my opinion.
It was because I think his mindset and his team were thinking, okay, on stage, the fans are going to go nuts because they want timelines. And I mean, to be fair to Josh, he was giving the fans what they want, timeline.
Yeah.
So cool. He was checking that box because fans were complaining. We don't know when things are going to open. And he gave us that. So he did it for that reason. He also did it because like we said, he wants to be CEO. So he's got to really blow the doors off, right? Here's the thing. When you promise 5 years out, he knows the next CEO will be announced well before the 5-year mark. Mm-hmm. So for him, he sees a very little risk for making that promise because by the time you realize that it's not going to be 5 years, well, the CEO thing was already decided.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So for him as a business dude, he's like, yeah, okay, well, I'll tell you 5 years. And at the end of the day, by the time you figure out it won't be 5 years, I'll either be CEO or someone else will be, but it's water under the bridge, So
exactly.
We still don't know much about the Encanto ride or if Disney has all the materials and ride system in the US right now. And since that is key to the land, I think they'll remain committed to getting it done regardless. But just when, that's the mystery. As for the Indiana Jones ride, I think it is also 100% safe from cancellation and possibly even delays, since it's not getting a new ride system or track. It's a reskin, meaning the changes in the money are going to set dressing and decor, with the most elaborate changes being effects and animatronics.
Right.
So as far as I know, Indiana Jones should be one of the easiest things Disney can get done. The only way I think it could get delayed is if Encanto pushes back the opening for the land. All right, let's get to the two-part project that likely everybody wants to know about, and that is Magic Kingdom's Villains Land and the 2 new Cars attractions set to replace the Rivers of America in Frontierland. As I've said in a past video, I think Disney's concerns about the Cars rides are real due to both the very public backlash this project has received and now the potential for an economic downturn and rising costs. What we don't know is the details of the ride system apart from it having a track. We also don't know what the second kid-friendly Cars ride is going to be. And we don't know if Disney feels Cars merch in Lightning Lane sales for these rides will make up for the potential rising cost. There's also the question of excavation, draining the rivers, and exactly when the rivers are going to close. What we do know, however, is permits were recently filed for project offices and more in order to oversee the river's construction. So currently, this project appears to be safe. Disney is taking all the steps it needs to get started. But here is the issue. I doubt Disney wants to drain the rivers and then get hit with a delay or rising cost, resulting in the river sitting empty or becoming a years-long construction site. That is not going to help the narrative of this Cars project at all. And as I've discussed in previous videos,
but I think all the more that's why they will push forward with the project, because they don't want to have a drained river and it sit there and it look, god awful. I think if we start to see the river being drained, then we pretty much know Disney is very confident that they are moving forward with this project. As far as not too sure of whether or not Lightning Lane sales would work for this attraction, I think so. Going back to what you were saying, they're aiming towards the normies. Whether or not that the diehard Disney fans want to even attempt to even go on these attractions or even step foot in the area, that's on them. I'm curious. I'm very excited about it. But a normie, a family of like 3 kids in a Cars area, trust me, I think that they'll buy the Lightning Lane.
Yeah, and from what I understand, and from the last time I checked, the Cars merch is a juggernaut. An absolute juggernaut for the Walt Disney Company. I don't think that's a concern either. I think Cars moves a lot. No pun intended. It moves a lot of merch. So yeah, I get it. I understand that a lot of diehard fans don't want this Rivers of America thing to happen. I understand that. Honestly, I'd be shocked if it didn't. I would be shocked if it didn't. There's too much payoff on Disney's end for them not to do it. You are replacing this river essentially with Cars and Villains. Two of Disney's biggest franchises. They're not going to let that. They're not going to let that slide, bro. Like these things are going to happen. Delays, maybe, absolutely. Delays happen. Delays always happen. You have the tariff stuff, cost of steel, all that stuff could factor into this. Absolutely. Outright canceling, nah, man. They're doing this. I can assure you.
It's already being seen as an unpopular investment. I've also heard rumblings that more changes are still in the works for Frontierland as a whole. So will they want to move forward with the Cars rides if those plans are also in danger of being budget cut? If it already wasn't obvious, this is a mystery in more ways than one. But again, currently, Disney is moving forward with it since they're taking all those steps. But would I be surprised by a delay or some sort of change? Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's fair.
As for Villains Land, I don't think that project is in danger of being canceled. Disney executives and Imagineers have mentioned many times how the fan response to a Villains Land is what made them greenlight it in the first place. And clearly, they believe this is their next big keystone project. But I do think it's also in danger of being delayed and pushed back at this moment in time. And I can't help but wonder if Disney has crunched the numbers to see if cutting the Cars rides may help them financially make Villains Land happen if they end up in a pinch. So overall, due to the changing nature of the United States' current economic situation, it's tough to say when we'll know the fate of certain lands and attractions, if that need even arises at all. But I do think we'll know something about the Muppets in the coming weeks, which will give us an idea of whether the company is truly concerned. Also, this is a huge date for you to keep in mind. May 7th is the Walt Disney Company's Q2 earnings call, which is sure to be very telling and address some of these things. So that is all I have for now, but I'd like to know what you think about all this.
Awesome. And we will be covering the earnings call here on OG55. We'll have absolutely Seymour Duck, Mr. Seymour Duck on there for that show. Absolutely. Maybe some other guy. He's the numbers guy. He's a financial dude. We love Seymour, and maybe even some other guests. We're not sure yet, but we're definitely going to cover that. But again, another fantastic video from Probably at Disney. I love reacting to her content. I don't always agree with her, but that's okay. That's okay. That's what makes the fandom fun, right? Like discussing and sharing ideas, right? And sharing theories and stuff. So again, I want everyone at home, if you like what you saw here today, make sure you go head over to Probably at Disney and give her a subscribe. Show her some love. She's at what, 2.28K. Let's get Probably at Disney at 3,000 subs. Let's get her to 3,000. She deserves it. She has a lot of great stuff. But George, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Absolutely. Yeah. As you had mentioned, another great video by Probably at Disney. As I said, I've been watching her content for quite some time, and more recently brought it to all your guys' attention. And I think she produces great videos and content for us to react to and have a conversation. There's a lot that I don't agree with her, but again, that's okay. That's the role of the land, that we could actually have a conversation and it's more interesting because it's not as fun just to keep on saying, oh, I agree with this, I agree with that, so I'm and as I said, I applaud her for taking the time and making those videos, because trust me, with with your YouTube channel and now my new one, obviously their work, you have to your heart, mind, and soul into them. So I applaud all content creators and vloggers who take on that challenge.
Content creation is a very hard thing to do, because it's not just the content. It can drain you in socially. It's very hard. You gotta have some thick skin in this game. You know what I'm saying? You get as a content creator, the more you grow, you get some mean comments, you get some hate. It comes with the territory. You gotta have some thick skin. You gotta there's a lot that goes into this stuff. It's not so easy, So I commend anyone out there, putting themselves out there doing content. I respect you. Absolutely respect you. So George, but where can everybody find you on social media, sir?
Absolutely. Oh, and real quick, just as OG had mentioned at the beginning of the video, Probably at Disney, if you ever want to come on and join in the conversation with us, you're always welcome here.
Always welcome. We reacted to a lot of your videos, so invitations open if you ever want to come on and talk shop with us. It'd be great. So go ahead, George.
Yeah, so anyway, you can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And as I had mentioned before, also check out my new YouTube channel and Instagram, Citrico Central, sister channel to Orange Grove 55.
There we go. We're going to get out of here. We're going to cut the lights.
Then cut the lights, cut the lights, cut the lights, cut the motherfucking lights.
Thank you for watching OG55. If you aren't already, consider becoming a member today.